It's fun to have a bunch of fish tanks and all that, but doing the maintenance on a bunch of them at once is a bit of a tedious task. So one of the easiest things to do is to set something up to help you drain the fish tanks, and that way at least half the work is semi-automated. Now, I was using this kind of plastic manifold connected to these PVC tubes, or is it vinyl? Vinyl tubes. And, you know, the concept worked for the most part, but the problem is it was very bulky, and here's the issue. When you have a diameter tube that big, you have to provide a much higher level of suction to keep the whole thing under a vacuum to pull water out. And if you're doing it on like a bunch of 55 gallons or something bigger, yeah, okay, that's fine. But this row right here is just a bunch of 10 gallons, so maintaining that kind of suction for a long time, especially on a system with a manifold like that, it just doesn't work very well. So the concept in general is sound. It's just I needed to kind of downscale it. So luckily, I knew exactly what to do. I just used the same type of lines and fittings that you would use on your typical reverse osmosis filtration system. And I just kind of copy the whole thing. And that's what these lines right here are. They're going all across right here. And because they're a lot smaller, I can route them easier. I designed and 3D printed these little brackets that clip onto my tanks, and that helps keep the line taut, which is important because if there's any sagging in the lines, then water just collects at the lowest point in the lines, and that could affect the suction just a little bit, or at least when suction gets low. So the idea is that every tank has a little piece of tube that comes down, and that little tube will basically be set to about this line right here, which is 20%, well actually no, 1 gallon of water. So it's a 10% line right there. So once water gets below that line, there's nothing left to suck up, and then it just stops and no more water flows. Great. Now, after that's done, I could just fill up my bottles that I use to drip new water in. So while these tanks are draining at a predetermined level, I can be filling these up, and then once they're all drained, I'll turn the little valve right here, which drips water in. These are all shrimp in these tanks, and even with the water change, you want to be very slow. So dripping the new water in helps make the water change go smoothly. I've had a lot better success with keeping shrimp by doing it like this. And this should help reduce the overall amount of time and work needed for at least these 5 10-gallon tanks. So, woohoo! Here's to 3D printing and AutoCAD. And physics.